All right, so we're gonna start our second half of our Habitat Council portion of this meeting. Remind everyone that we are streaming live on YouTube. And our first order of business in how we do these is we didn't do any voting during the first half of the meeting, combined with Blue Ribbon, and because they have their own ranking and whatnot. And so what we typically do is we basically group vote all the projects into one motion, unless you want to have additional discussion or maybe change some of the elements of the project, funding percentages, vote it down, I don't know, whatever. Anything that you want to discuss further, we can do that, and then we'll do a separate motion on that individual project. Otherwise, anything that you're, I guess, good to go with, we'll just do a group motion that we recommend to move those forward altogether. But so I guess at this point in time, I'll ask the council, are there any items from the projects in the morning that you want to revisit or discuss, change, have an issue with?
Right. I just restate my concern about, the project on the Bear River. And I know you guys tried, but it really shapes my ass that, that the Bear River
We're streaming.
He meant it, so it's okay.
Okay.
Could acquire, $40 million plus for fish work on the Bear River, and then we are, scratching for, what was it, 80,000 or whatever it was. And this isn't a knock on you, it's just a knock on the BIL process. And I don't know how to address it quite, but and it's not a knock on the project either. It's a valuable project, but damn, with all the work and money that's going in on the Bear River, to have them listed as a partner in this project and not it be considered as part of the, the overall BIL benefit up there is troubling. I'll leave it at that.
Noted.
Is one of the projects that we didn't have time to discuss this downstairs that I think I'm going to bring up for discussion that Randy and I had, and just get it on the record, is that the funding for training was super impressive. And Randy just mentioned, we want to have the best, most qualified, best trained biologists we can. And representing habitat or representing upland, really upland management is habitat management. And Randy asked us to look into something like that for upland. And so I wanted to get that. It's not an official motion or anything like that, but I want to get it on the record that it's clearly been a success in the aquatic section. And if there was something out there for habitat, that might not be a bad idea in managing upland.
Anybody know any kind of training events like that for upland or long-term?
Can I mention something that we discussed yesterday in the aquatic section, because it came up, in a staff meeting, just about, the knowledge gap you have within your section, tiger muskie, hyperstriped bass management, and it just so happens that this stream restoration training was kind of, the discussion point of all of the things that we learn to do well because we go to places and become experts in areas that we're not, and we need that expertise. It's more than just the paid training. That's just one aspect, but there's interaction with other agencies. There's cross pollination, sending people down to if we're talking about upland game. There are states that really are just top notch in the game of managing upland game, both in habitat and monitoring and management. And it's the same for fisheries. And so one of the things we discussed yesterday is sending people to Minnesota and, having, that level of expertise that they have, embedded in our people, send them up there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks when, they're doing their monitoring. They're doing any spawning operations, anything that they have going on, to bring that expertise back to Utah. And in all aspects of fisheries, you know, that's where we're going. And I think it's valuable probably, you know, for you guys too. So I'll leave it at that.
I couldn't agree more. So I just wanted to get that out there to this group and be probably a discussion we could have more internally as well. But as raised a concern of a council member, I think it's definitely worth getting out there and getting on the record.
I know one of our partners, the Clean Water Fish and Wildlife Service, recently went to, I don't remember what he called it, pheasant. Put on maybe by Pheasants Forever, but it was back in South Dakota.
Pheasant Fest.
Yeah,
Wanted to go so
he
bad.
said it. He said it was really interesting and he really learned a lot about it. So that's something we have to really ever attempt to do, is something like that. But
So I know when Jason Robinson was in the coordinator position, he would go around to the regions and present different habitats, different species, right?
We talked about that and that was amazing. Like, is it in-house training?
That was what made me do upland projects on walk-in access areas, was because of
Why I'm gonna be here.
So it totally spurred, it got you thinking about, all right, where could I do projects? And so we talked about putting that back in the work plan again. But yes. But that was,
I'd bet between Pheasants Forever and Quill Unlimited, those two organizations have a training somewhere in the US every year that is conducted that would benefit species here in Utah. And you could find something like that. I know because Jason, that was part of his, you know, his work plan was to present on a different species every year. But he had that research and had that knowledge. I mean, you got Angie here and her husband hunt places that I would love to go, period, you know, but there's a lot of knowledge just within what's here in the room.
Yeah.
But I think there's other places that you could reach out to. And I think Pheasants Forever and Quill Unlimited, and there's probably some other organizations that would have some trainings like that, and just to get some, because that's what got me thinking about some of the projects that I did.
no, I couldn't agree more.
I agree. Sounds good. I think on the aquatic side, I mean, we've sent habitat staff to that as well. Because we get heavily involved in stream restoration work that benefits both fish and upland habitats. And so, the one thing that the trainings that we typically have spent this money on, for that, it's more than just you go to a training for a week and then you're done. It provides you a qualification, a credential, certification, at the end. So that makes it, I think, even more valuable in my opinion. So anyway, okay. Anything else you want to bring up on project specific from this morning? Or against change?
After my rant, I'll say that the projects overall were spot on. You know, they're high priorities for the aquatic section. And unless anybody has anything else to say, I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Drew to approve all of the projects from this morning for further consideration, and we have a second from Blake.
Can I just make a comment? It's not to side rail that, but just to compliment. The aquatic presentations downstairs were really good. I mean, they all knew what they're doing. The presentation material is really good. I was impressed with it. I liked it. And I really like the project you guys are doing in conjunction with the aquatics up in the hardware ranch. It's in the creek area. Really good project.
Thanks, Randy.
He's trying to say he didn't expect him to be that good.
Fish people.
Something's a little fishy over there.
Kobe will take the compliment from the upland guy when we get it, okay? So, all right, we have a motion on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes. All of the projects that we reviewed this morning are now gonna move on for. So, okay. All right, we're gonna jump into a new set of projects. Our first one is number 6899. I'm gonna look to Daniel, also, have I forgot anything that we need to do on this? I don't think we did an approval of our minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Before, we need to
Let's
do
do
that,
that.
so
Let's do
Clint,
I'll
take a
sit
seat for a
right here.
second. So we need to both approve our minutes from last time, which has all of our approvals and council action items in the minutes from last time. And then we'll need to approve our agenda moving forward for today. So with that, we have a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting.
So I move to approve.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion from Drew and we have a second from Randy to approve our minutes from last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. Do we have an approval of our agenda and moving forward today with our Habitat Council items?
I'll make that proposal.
Okay, we have a motion from Randy with a second from Angie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say no. Moves forward. Okay, Daniel. What else did we miss?
Is 6952, we gotta discuss changes to it
Oh, yeah, that's on your agenda.
on your
This
agenda,
is,
like, area.
Troy,
This is Wasatch Legends project. It's on your
Oh.
other side of your paper where the minutes are at. Like where we're
Oh,
supposed to,
right. No, thank you for bringing that up. Okay,
so Troy went in and he made changes to his proposal, pulled out the equipment that he had there, so right now it's just 16,400 for the work that they normally do, removing all the frag and stuff, so that's what he's done so far. But he pulled that equipment purchase out.
This was the one that wanted the mud ox.
yeah, and we
so
decided we didn't want to move
it
forward.
didn't really say in there like exactly where all of that is gonna be used at. I mean, the project still says the spur, I think the refuge, and of course Kingfisher. Here's my concern.
Sarah,
Kingfisher wetland is owned by Weaver County. Wasatch Wiggins and Weaver County have a contract. So why isn't Weaver County footing the bill? It is not huntable. It is not easily accessible to the public. It's not. I went and toured it. It's pretty. Also, if they got the garbage out there, it'd be prettier. But again, it's not easily accessible. I'm not sure who Troy is speaking to biologist wise to do the work he's doing there. There isn't any frag there. There has been, don't get me wrong. So I guess there's upkeep to that. But I'm still struggling funding a project where it is not easily accessible. I mean,
What is not easily accessible mean, Andrew?
it means if you want to even get there, you either have to park in and get permission to park in Weaver County's archery complex.
Okay.
Or you have to park, it's like a mile, there's a trail, like Weaver County has put a walking trail, but it's a mile away. You have to walk under the tracks on paved road, but I think it's on 31st Street, but it's still a mile walk to get there. Or, and I didn't try it, there's Fort Buenaventura on the other side of the river. And I don't know if there's a bridge to get you over.
I don't think there's a bridge to get over.
So you have two access points and they're just, it's not, one, it's on private property and you have to get permission to park there. Or Weaver County Archery Complex will have you towed if you don't get permission to park there, if you're not using the archery complex. And then the other one's a mile hike. Again, it's not huntable. So I really struggle. I have asked a ton of people about Kingfisher, and I'm going to tell you, I had one person even know where it was and could tell me a very small bit about it. So I really struggle with using these funds on that area.
Daniel, is there, in the finance page, is there a breakdown as to what is for Kingfisher and what's not?
I was looking to see if he did that, but I don't see anything in here that separates it out. Unless anybody else can see it.
I looked everywhere. I looked in comments, I looked everywhere. So, I mean, I struggle with that. That's just my I get if he wants to do like stuff on the spur and on Bear River. I totally understand that. But having Kingfisher in there, I get it's a nesting area. I did see a pair of wood ducks in there, a pair of mallards, and a pair of geese. It is being used, but again, to use public dollars there, I struggle with that.
What is how much are they asking for from Habitat Council? Just
16.4,
asking for all of it?
yes.
That's for all the properties.
This is after they modified it.
So the Kingfisher is a portion of this. There's a lot of other stuff happening up
Yeah, they've
in
spent,
other areas, but this is.
they spent a lot of time up on towards for really, Howard Slough area, doing a lot of frag work. And so
I
personally,
would agree with Angie on this, though. I would think we'd need to know a breakdown on this. The vast majority, like 99% of it, needs to be up in Harold's Crane.
It's the spur, yeah, it's on the.
Or spur, I
relic
couldn't remember
spur
which
and
one
on
it
the
was, yeah.
refuge.
If it were more accessible, would you have the same issues? Just curious.
If Weber County is gonna put some dollars towards it, I would be more willing to put some of the dollars here. But they're not, there's nothing in there. They lean heavily on Wasatch Widgeons to get things done, which I think they're doing great work there. It's fine. I think they're doing more work there that needs to be done, but I also don't know how they're getting, my other concern is they're just going in and doing projects, or are they actually talking to a biologist and doing the correct work that needs to be done that way?
What is the property used for?
Say that again.
What is the property actually used for?
It's a nest, it's like a nesting area for,
Just kind of a rest area.
yeah.
It's right there by their archery center.
So part, I guess, to do a lot of that commercial stuff. I mean, it's surrounded by commercial stuff. I get why you can't hunt there, and I'm totally fine with it being a resting area. But it's owned by Weber County. It used to be a landfill, that whole area. So it was huntable at one point, but it's been a really long time.
I used to shoot down there as a kid.
Yeah, so
you were that
that's just.
guy. So I think, I mean, you've got kind of three options here. Shane, did you have a comment?
I was just gonna, I feel like something similar to this came up in the WRI meeting.
Yeah.
And somebody commented that maybe this doesn't fit the criteria for Habitat Council, but that the benefit of this was just any upstream Phragmites work is benefiting everything downstream. So that came up in the
Sure.
discussion. So for the benefit, it's bigger than just the area. So.
Right.
And you said there isn't any frag there. I haven't been.
I
myself,
think
so
there
don't
has
know.
been in the past. You can't see it now. And I get that stuff needs to be done. But
So I think you have kind of three options here. We could either just leave the motion tabled, which is what we did the first time because of the equipment. We could just leave it as is and just let it stay tabled. Let Troy or whomever bring it back next year if they wanted to. Second option is somebody could make a motion to adjust it to remove Kingfisher out of the equation of where treatment work can be done, even though there's not a cost breakdown of what the difference might be. They could apply all of that money to, the other areas that they could work in and have spent already a lot of time working in. So there's that option, or approve it as currently as it says. That is what I see our three options are. So I think we're open to any of those motions or some variation of that. That's up to, the council.
Just a question. if you wanted to break it out, the way that it's written, how can you do that? If there's not, if it's not broken out by, percentage for this area in Ogden and percentage for Willard, how do you move a motion forward without knowing those costs?
I mean, you could make a motion that says spend the money, you approve money in these other areas only. Even though, so that's enhancing what those projects are essentially. Or just table it, continue to let's let it.
Maybe we can ask them again to break it out. by
Yeah.
Property
Or
on it and
Ask them to bring back some more
next
information.
meeting or something too.
Well, just to, I guess, educate them on maybe a better process or what this, council actually will fund and won't. My recommendation, this isn't a motion, but my recommendation would be to, send it back to them. And just let them know the why, the council is struggling with it, but, I'd leave it to kind of Angie to probably
Yeah, and
put a
so-
motion out.
So to keep it tabled, I don't think we need a motion for that. We just decide here that that's, we're just not gonna have a motion on it. It just stays tabled and then we can communicate
Then
back
who would
to them.
approach them and,
We're Daniel, and have Daniel reach out to them and say, hey, can you break this out and we can bring it back again to review, see if that's more acceptable to have a motion on.
I can talk to them.
So,
I'd rather just have it tabled.
Just keep it
That's
leave
what
it
slated.
it's
table.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you think we need to have a
I mean-
motion to that?
And reach out to them and have them adjusted again by property or just keep it the whole thing tabled.
I'd like it spelled out. I mean, obviously, he's gonna bring it back with Kingfisher in it, and me personally, I'm always gonna have a struggle with Kingfisher, not that I don't
Yeah, I
think
think that's
it's
the bigger issue
necessary.
here. And
Yeah,
if you wanted to, we could send it back with the motion that it excludes Kingfisher.
Because we could do it that way. We could just say, hey, adjust it so that Kingfisher's not in there, or adjust it so that Kingfisher's in there, and then you can make a motion to exclude Kingfisher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'd want to be playing with them at this point to say, the council's not comfortable taking with the Kingfisher portion, so bring us back another number that
it
you-
excludes Kingfisher.
excludes Kingfisher and the monies that would have been spent there.
I'm good with that.
It does look like there's a small walk bridge upstream of Fort B.
Okay,
And I think Fort B and the old landfill and all that stuff, I think it's all owned by Weaver County. It all
Yeah.
used to probably be together as one kind of big area. The last time I was in Fort B, I was wishing that I was, carrying a sidearm. To be frankly honest, it wasn't the best. And I asked one of your.
you still feel that way, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't, but I'm thinking that it used to be like an old set of ponds, that there probably used to be some, because I remember years ago it being talked about, but I couldn't, when you mentioned Kingfisher, I'm like, it can't be the same place, but.
Yeah,
it
it's
really
not very
is.
big.
Yeah,
It's
big.
not big.
So,
So that would be my motion is we can to send it back to exclude Kingfisher.
So that's a motion then,
Sure.
okay? Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Angie to continue to table it, but request more information from the sponsor to exclude the Kingfisher portion of the project. And we have a second from Randy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes. All right. Okay,
hey, Eric,
yes.
maybe this goes to Daniel. I don't know. I know Troy brought a project last year for the very first time to WRI. I was really shocked and surprised at how the process worked and, what he brought versus what everybody else was presenting. I wonder if he understands that if Weaver County's using equipment or if they're providing equipment or something like that, that there is a way to document that in WRI on the database. And that might help, Angie feel a little bit better. I know that that's something that I'm trying to do a better job of, is like including in-kind stuff, even though there's not a lot that happens, for oversight projects and those kinds of stuff. It might be something that he just doesn't understand, because last year was the very first year they.
Yeah, and, you know, him and his group, they're really passionate about waterfowl. And I think it's good to support that where we can, not outside the bounds of what we have to do here. So I've been partial to try to see what we can do to help him, but I think there's still some things he needs to work on and understand what we can do and what we really can't do. So I think.
They do a great job. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on back to the projects at hand here. So we're going to review 6899 South Fork Junction Creek Fish Passage Project.
You just go to the map, please. And zoom out a little bit, please. All right, so kind of help you figure out where we're sitting at as far as the state. Snowville sits right here. This is the very northwest corner of the state. Pretty more remote location. In the past 4 years, we've replaced 4 diversion structures out there and removed some fish passage barriers. And last year, this was part of a project that we removed. Just upstream of this, we removed a bunch of old road crossings and old diversions. But we did not have the funding to finish all of the barrier work and all the piping of this project. So this is our final phase. This is the last barrier on South Fork Junction Creek that we have. And after this is complete, Shantae is proposing to do a treatment to remove brown trout from the system down to a certain location. I think it probably will be the Idaho line, but I'm not 100% certain. Part of what she wants to do is to do kind of deep dive and find out what's there, big inventory, either this summer or next summer, to find out what we have as far as mussels, fish, and other species that are in the system. This is a picture of the barrier. It's not passable to fish, and right now is the last barrier for brown trout moving up. So once this is completed, the operator of this irrigation diversion will leave the boards in, so it'll be a barrier for browns to move up. But then the Yellowstone cutthroat that are above this can still move through the system. So, okay. Let's go. Yeah, sounds great. So what Shantae is asking is for funding from WRI, and is it just, yeah. Yeah, so for 265,000 is what she's asking from Endangered Species Mitigation Fund, 85,000 from Habitat Council, and then U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service fish passage money will be the rest of it. Again, Yellowstone cutthroat trout are in this reach, and we have done some work upstream on Basin Creek to allow fish passage all the way up into the basin, Cotton Thomas Basin. So fish at this point can still go all the way up through the basin. These barriers, once they're fish passable, will also pass green sucker, which are in this basin. And that's why we are asking for, yes, ma'am. It's for this work for green suckers. Besides that, I don't know what else to present to you. She's out west actually working right around this area today. So, but that's her project. It's the last phase. We'd like to get this all wrapped up and have it finished. So we can look at a treatment in probably the fall of 2026.
Okay, questions?
Oh, go ahead. You'll ask more intelligent question.
I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
I,
No Correct.
that 265, that is not in the original ESMF proposals, the above the block. That is yet to be determined in the additional 2 million, correct or
Yes.
no?
So, we sat down with Paul, the other day and, kind of went through priorities of, because we brought about 16 projects to Paul for the additional 2 million. And kind of decided that, you know, it's important for us to finish this project off. And it wasn't gonna receive any WRI funding because it didn't rank very high. And so it was kind of decided that let's put the ESMF money on here. So we increased it to 265, took off the WRI money, and then the remaining is the Habitat Council portion.
Yeah, so it'll go through the ESMF
The second round.
second round.
Okay.
Funding cycle, go to their committee for that part of the project.
And it was actually, had already gone through their ranking because it was submitted earlier, but it was just a lower amount.
Right.
And, we
But it hadn't,
basically,
it hadn't been approved by their committee. They
Yeah.
haven't met yet.
Okay.
The new ones.
yeah, he's just run it through the rubric.
All right, that's what I needed to know. I guess the other question is Yellowstone Cutthroat up in that country. This is one of the last projects, correct?
This is
To
last,
complete our conservation efforts.
this is, to my knowledge, this is our last one. Now, unless Matt has got something squirreled away that he hasn't been talking about for other.
We should be about out of water. Right?
Yeah, we've hit literally every little creek and stream within the basin
Okay.
to do this. So Allison, thank you for that information. I saw that it was part of that 2 million ask, but I didn't know it. Because Paul said I couldn't ask for anything more than $200,000, so I was wondering why she was asking for 265.
Yeah, we had that discussion earlier
We
this
kind of
week.
negotiated that. already,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we
So
had
thank
some
you.
negotiations already, so.
Hey, Randy, just a real basic question. Lynn's in the middle of nowhere. And you've got the screens. What type of maintenance do you have?
Rotary drum screens. So they're not maintenance free, but they require a little maintenance in the spring. They self-clean just because water's running past them. They just rotate and it just cleans off the screen. So, they're really low maintenance, but the contract and that maintenance is on, the landowner who is doing all the irrigation and stuff. We've consolidated, this diversion structure consolidates, I think, 3 ditches. And so we've removed 2 other barriers to get to this point, and all we have to do is fix this one and then we're ready to go. So it's nice that all of them occurred on one land, on 2 landowners. So they've been really amenable to allowing us to do the work.
And this is, we don't have a lot of Yellowstone country in Utah, but it's part of a multi-state conservation strategy. So with Idaho and in Utah, this is the last project that we have to do to complete our portion of that conservation.
Okay, any other questions on this one? We have a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay, I'll second. Okay, we have a motion from Drew to approve, a second from Blake. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
next project, number 7028, Northern Region Repairing Restoration. Y25.
I've got it for my presentation. Steve, up to you. All right, so this is, sorry, I'm gonna introduce myself, Shane Hill, Northern Region Habitat Restoration Biologist. So this is one of 2 other similar projects you'll see from other regions. It's called the Riparian, or Regional Riparian Restoration Project, which entails the trapping and relocating of beavers for stream restoration purposes. Go next. This picture kind of shows why we do it for wildlife, at least. Beavers do act as keystone species, create diverse habitat, which benefits the whole ecosystem, all the way up to deer, elk, and moose as well. So, next. This is an ongoing project, and so I just kind of wanted a little update of what happened last year. It was a relatively slow year. We think because of the high water year, there wasn't as many nuisance calls, which is how we get our beavers, through people calling about nuisance issues, and then we'll find a way to live trap them. We got about 40 beavers relocated, and that's not just in the northern region. They were all trapped they were all housed and quarantined in the northern region, but then some in the northern, some sent to the southern region and central regions. But in the northern region, we released at 4 sites, Raft Rivers, a couple in Cache Valley, and on the North Slope. We actually were able to take beavers on horseback up on the North Slope, which we plan on doing again this year, but going a little bit further. And we were able to confirm, at least for that year, beavers had stayed at 3 of the sites. We just hadn't been able to get up to the North Slope to check that out. So next. This current fiscal year, we plan on we're starting trapping already, and gonna be relocating in this fiscal year. Next. In addition, with the current year funding, we are planning a 2-day course for private landowners, for state officials, for other partner agencies to learn how to live with beavers, so we can try to get that habitat benefit from the beavers without the nuisance issues and where possible. Next. And this is kind of the flyer we made up for it. That's on June 5th and 6th. So if you were interested, it'd be a hardware WMA. We're bringing somebody from a nonprofit who in the Northwest that this is what they do. It's help landowners deal with the nuisance beaver issues without having to remove them. Next. Just the objectives of this are mainly to support the Beaver Ecology and Relocation Center at USU. They do a lot of the hard work for this, including responding to nuisance calls that we refer to them, and trapping and moving and quarantining beavers for 3 days, which is a protocol we all try to abide by. We want to expand living with beaver practices and also learn about the success of the beaver relocation by tracking their movements and confirming their establishment. Maybe I showed this last year, but the year previous, there was a lot of interest from news agencies about what we were doing. And there wasn't as much this past year, but it kind of showed in the amount of people who are calling and don't want their beavers lethally trapped, but are actually asking for live trap removal or a way to live with them. So the PR is kind of showing in the public as well. So next. Also, this project supports previous projects going back 5 years or more, all that have used beaver dam analogs with the intent for beavers to move in. We provide that. This program provides the beavers to, if needed, to reintroduce into those watersheds to then confirm that restoration. But next. I always like to put a plug in for why beavers are so important. They reduce an established beaver colony can reduce fire risk. It slows the water down, which reduces erosion, which improves the water quality and improves the water table, which improves forage. So a lot of benefits to having, not just for wildlife, but also for us, for water users. Next. So we utilize the staff at the bunkhouse, call it the Beaver Ecology Relocation Center, to live trap beavers, and we also try to get private folks to get in, and some portions of this funds from this project go to actually compensate live trappers for bringing us live beavers instead of legally trapping. So, and then, yeah, again, we'll be teaching and implementing living with beaver strategies where possible. Thanks. This program continues to grow. This year we're hoping to partner with Zootah, which is the previously Willow Park Zoo in Cache Valley. They've promised $20,000 to construct beaver exhibit in quotes. It'll be somewhat public facing, but we don't want these beavers to become pets or anything. They'll go there and provide a place to hold beavers for longer times than we've previously been able to, including the kits, which we don't like to release on their own because they won't survive. So I try to hold them and maybe pair them with other families. So this new partnership will allow us to expand and do a little bit more with beaver restoration. Thanks. Yeah, just we partner with everybody. We're always looking for more people to partner with this one. A lot of help, a lot of collaboration with Forest Service and BLM and some conservation nonprofits. Next. So we're asking, so that new ask can be broken out to, we're asking from Habitat Council, I think it's $30,000, 45,000 from WRI, and there's the contributions from Sageline Collaborative, which is that funding will go towards some monitoring of all of the work we're doing, and then the 20,000 from Utah. And a portion of what we're asking is to a matching to Utah to create that facility. Next, that's it. Yeah. So.
Okay, questions on this project?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I really like the beaver stuff. I think that's just, I don't know if this trending's not the right word. I can't think of another one, but it seems like it's picked up speed recently. So I really like it. I'm curious, how much luck do you have keeping animals where you want them? Because they're wandering little buggers.
Yeah. Me personally, the ones I don't know exact percentage, but the places where I've released them, I've had pretty high percentage of success. At least the following year that they've stayed. But I didn't mention it, but part of this, we're asking for some monitoring equipment so that we can actually, we do put pit tags in the tails of the beavers. We just need a more dedicated pit tag reader that we can use that will kind of stay in place. Is a wagon wheel? Is that the term?
There's a wagon wheel one,
Yeah, where we will lay the sensor across the stream and be able to tell if they've stayed, when they've left, if they're still in the area. So there is still some questions about how successful this is, but just ocular, going back and visiting the sites where we've released them, I'd say from places I've released them, 50 to 70% have had dams built. Maybe 50% have built lodges and stayed.
So there's some data out of USU where they show that the temperament of the beaver, where you hold, we have a quarantine period, right, before we put it back in, and that the temperament of the animal is highly correlated with whether or not it stays at the release location. So, I mean, there are some best practices where you can release them as a group and some other things, but also that you can tell which ones are going to stay by their temperament when they're in quarantine. So that's another thing to look into. That was super interesting to me. The more aggressive animals were a lot less likely to stay where you kicked them out.
Is that from the southern?
It was some work done at Utah State. I'm not sure exactly.
Probably southern Utah. They did out of, I can't remember the drainage, but
Yeah, so
makes sense.
And the
But
reason I
there's
asked,
other factors as well, because they can get predated upon. We do build temporary BDAs and give them place to shelter. There isn't enough cover there. But
and the reason I ask it, I think, because like I said, I like this. Like, I like anything that's retaining water, on the landscape. But you're gonna have to end up spending a ton of money to go out and relocate those beavers we talked about out in the Grouse Creek area. Yeah, that's a pain. That's why I ask, how often are we having to deal with these animals multiple times?
so ones that we've actually had to deal with that we've replaced, Raft Rivers or Grouse Creek is the only place I'm aware of that we've created a problem in a sense, like that we need to go deal with now.
Because those animals moved down because they were planted
Yeah.
significantly higher. And they
So-
moved down to the farmland.
So portions of these funds are going towards finding ways to mitigate that, whether it's continue live trapping and relocating from the sites or give ways, teach landowners ways to fence out culverts, trees that they don't want chewed down, ways to lower pond levels and so.
Okay, any other questions on this one? We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Angie to approve and a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. All right. Next project, 6021 East Bear Lake Range and streaming improvements, phase 2.
All right, so let's go check the next one. This is the area where we're looking at east, the Bear Lake Plateau on the east side of Bear Lake. There are three aspects to this project: the Lop and Scatter project in this bigger area, culvert replacement on North Eden Creek. So this is North Eden, this is South Eden Creeks. Culvert replacement on for fish passage on North Eden, and then some wet meadow restoration on this big creek of Black Mountain. So this area is important for sage grouse. Currently using it critical mule deer winter and spring habitat. There's a significant migration corridor from Idaho and winter down here. And with some stuff that's going on in Idaho and the drastic winter we had last year, this area is becoming even more and more apparent how important it is. There's livestock grazing. This is all sitla land that we're working. And Bonneville trout fishery in North Eden. I'm not too sure about South Eden, but where we're working is the reason we're doing work in North Eden with Trout Unlimited is the Bonneville cutthroat trout passage. Next. So this is a drone shot of a portion of the area, kind of looking at where we're proposing to do a Lop and Scatter. And you can see the condition it's in. We'll go and treat these areas, remove that encroaching juniper before it gets any more dense. And also, we talked a lot about BDAs today, but there's another practice called Z-dike grade control structures. We want to go in here in this stream that it erodes whenever it's pretty flashy, so without any barriers to slow it down, it's eroding and the water table's dropping and less wet meadow habitat each year. So we'll be using this technique developed by a man named Z-dike, where it gets its name. Similar to BDAs, it's slowing the flow down, catching up sediment, building that creek back up. It's this where VDAs are more appropriate in first and second order streams. This one is in ephemeral streams that don't always have foil. We typically use these. So we use that there. Next. Also, another reason why that stream may be eroding away is the lack of sediment from upstream when it does erode. And this is due to this culvert being blocked. It's all the sediment builds up right here, stops right here, acting kind of as its own DDA or Z dike, and you can see it stays greener and spreading out the water a little more. But we'd like to be able to open that up and spread that more green wet meadows spread along the creek. So we're gonna replace that culvert and open it up. Next. And regarding the North Eden Fish Passage, we're replacing the culvert on the Cisco Beach Road with a bottomless arch culvert, which will fully allow fish to forward pass. Next, here's a picture of the current state of the culvert. Next. So these are some of the benefits of doing this work. I can just move on. A lot of partners in this one, Trout Unlimited, Mueller Foundation is heavily involved. UDAF is helping consult and work with private landowners. And of course, the Civil and Civil Land, we've been coordinating with them. Next. Not that you can see that much of this is pretty a bit expensive project, but Trout Unlimited has gotten a Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife grant for the Fish Passage grant, cover 400,000 and then 50,000 from the U.S. the Fish and Wildlife Service partner program, as well as contributing some. So what we're asking total is just under $350,000 for. We might want to go to the database for the breakout for what we're asking for Habitat Council. Significantly less than 20,000 from Habitat Council. Yeah, to get that worked out. And with that, take any questions?
Keep in mind, it's not the money, but the 30/70 sport fish and big game doesn't seem to balance with one culvert being replaced and then the acreage of lop and scatter. Where'd you come up with that?
It's been a while since I did that. I don't know if I even did. I think maybe Allison did. So maybe that is.
I believe that Daniel, is this one I talked to you about yesterday?
Oh, man.
But we basically looked at the cost of things, like the percentage of, when you bring up the,
Culverts.
well, the culvert is, seems like it was a lot more than the, like, so it's 72 and then the rest is like, it's aquatic related. And so that's why I did it that percentage. Just because of the amount of.
Just an expensive culvert.
Your stuff costs more, Drew.
Prices have gone up, I guess.
Yeah.
Anytime you start dealing with water, man, they just
Yeah.
cost, man.
I mean, you just look at, like, you've got the Trout Unlimited things, you've got the culvert, and scroll up again, will you?
Yeah, so I think we
Yeah.
just based off the cost.
Isn't that 100, the bottomless culvert of 136,000, so that's.
What's
That's fine.
funny, Drew, is I wrote all these notes down several days ago and I looked at this, because those percentage numbers are completely different.
I was gonna say, I've got them
Because
different.
I wrote down like, fish needs to be on this.
And
'Cause
I
there
think
was-
it was like 80/20 or something. It was
Yeah,
really,
with nothing
really
on
It was
fish.
80
Yeah.
big game, 20 upland.
Yeah, so,
I think I may have done that because
yeah, but anyway, that's.
based on acres, not by cost.
Although another thought is that Steve's not here.
I will say this
He doesn't know.
one, they're trying to limit it, doing other work as well to, for help the landowners there get their irrigation from wells instead from the creek, so free up water that, so it's just this is just part of a bigger project that try to limit it. They already have funding for that. They're just looking for more to get over that area.
Dorito and I have been working on this project probably for the last 5 years in one way, shape or form. And, you know, whatever we can cobble together through different partners and different grants. So it's really nice to see like this all combined and have a coupling component. And our goal was to get to this point that Shane's included put everything together. When they did the highway on the east side, they put in a new culvert, but they put like 2.5 feet above grade. And so it kept it as a fish barrier. Like he's saying, now landowners are amenable to like letting that water stay in the stream instead of just drying it up for diversion. And so, yeah, it's every little step helps, every little piece helps.
All right, any other questions on this?
I'll just throw it, I actually really like this. When I read it, just like, oh, I like this. I really like, and I hope other places start doing it, that you're throwing in some Z dikes in those smaller temporary little springtime springs, just to build up that water and getting a little growth going, a little insect growth. So I hope that spreads. I love that that's a component.
And we had a training last year on how to do that, so you might see more of those from other regions as well.
They're a little more water right around too.
Yeah,
So potentially pounding.
the biggest cost is if you don't have
The
site.
ZDOCs do impact water rights.
They're more water right friendly.
Okay, I misunderstood. Mike, you're gonna pick it up.
Yeah,
And a
less potential for inadvertent impact on water.
The biggest cost is just, if you don't have enough rocks on site to do it, you need to ship in some 1 foot boulders, which can get pretty expensive.
Okay,
I moved to approve.
all right, I'll second the motion. Okay, we have a motion from Drew, a second from Randy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay,
Thank you.
motion passes. Thanks, Shane. All right, our next project, 6811 Big Sand Wash Recreation Management Phase 2 in our northeast region.
Oh,
Who we got?
is everybody good if I just sit here?
No, you need to stand up front like everybody else.
I'm so close to being up front.
The camera's right there and it's watching us.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to apologize in advance for this project because I was just sitting here texting, trying to ask him who was going to present this. And she had put it in before she took a different position, so there is no one assigned to present this or work on this at this time, so I guess it defaults straight to me. This project is a phase 3 of a recreation management plan that she started quite a few years ago. It's motorboat access and Habitat Council ask, and it is for paving and striping of the parking lot, and then re-chip sealing the road going up into the main access point at Big Sand Wash. So fairly straightforward. It is expensive, as everything is. Pavement is expensive, but it's basically taking the small area in the yellow and finishing off all the components of our recreation management plan that we have been working on. Currently, we have a pipe fence project just to the north of this that they're working on as we speak, and that phase will be complete here at the end of April. So, that being said, she also couldn't remember if she submitted it to Motorboat Access. So do you remember that list, or do you remember seeing it?
I don't. If it hasn't been, we need to.
Right, so that's the major portion of this funding is from Motorboat Access. It's like 200,000, almost 250 from Motorboat Access, and then 90 from Habitat Council. So I would say this project is really dependent on Motorboat Access. If it was not submitted, then I would think we would need to table this project till the next fiscal year. If it was submitted and it is approved, then I think we can move forward with this project.
that somewhat puts you in a pickle today and you might just have to,
I don't think so. I think based on the merits, we can approve the project for the Habitat Council funding if the votable access funding comes through.
okay.
So that should be a bigger problem.
In my mind, that would be the right call, the right approach. Because we really, if we only have 90,000 through Habitat Council and nothing through motorboat access, we can't finish the project and we might as well just put it in fiscal year 27 or fiscal year 26. See where it would land. So pretty straightforward project though. It really is designed just to add to that recreation facility. Try to keep some of our boats and trailers actually in order when busy season comes. That's becoming busier each year. So yeah, that's the project. I don't know how it gets much easier than pavement and striping.
When will we know about the motorboat access funding?
I think from this morning, it was towards the end of this month.
I just want to make sure it's part of the review. That's
Yeah.
all I want to make sure. You know, it's got to be on the docket to be reviewed by the end of this month.
Right. And that's what we don't know right this second. So we'll have to find that out.
So I've got, and you may not know where it sounds like this kind of got dumped on you. The first part, or not the first part, but in the details it's talking about, there's a management agreement with the private property organization. This is a horrific agreement, like a horrible agreement, that we take care of all the problems and they get all the benefits.
Yeah.
That's my spouting. But can anything be done about that, or is how long term of an agreement? I was horrified when I read it.
The background, the whole purpose of that agreement and these improvements was this fishery and the popularity is developed pretty quickly. And before it really was a fishery, it was a place where there was just crime, drugs. And part of this was just, the agreement was just trying to get law enforcement on site so that normal recreationists that want to go out and, you know, enjoy fishing, as an example, wouldn't have to deal with that. And so we get something out of it. We get the angler use, and we get a lot of angler use on Big Sand Wash, both winter, summer, spring, fall. So the agreement and what it does for the private landowners is nothing compared to what it does for us.
Okay, we're getting better in the long run. I was horrified. I kept reading. I reread it 3 times, just like, I can't be reading this right.
In my opinion, once we got that agreement set and you can remove those less desirable elements, there's another agreement in the wind, but you got to get them taken care of first.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that Big Sand Wash at one point was on the state parks radar for someone to manage it. And then it just ended up not being. So there's no real entity to manage any of the recreation around there. We are the only ones that do it and have any ability to do it. And the next project I talk about involves a portion of another aspect of what we do, why we do what we do there. So yeah, it's an interesting situation that Trena's she worked on it for several years, almost 5 years probably, just to try to get agreements in place to be able to do any of it and get law enforcement there.
And things are better now than they were.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know this area.
As just having a desirable, recreational opportunity there, like fishing or picnicking or whatever else goes on there now, and having it daylighted, really, and having that bring law enforcement into the mix has removed most of those people that used to be there. I don't know where they went, but they're not there anymore. So.
North Temple, but okay. But possibly with the new division of law enforcement and DNR, maybe some of that scenario can even change more to our favor. Where more of the DNR response to some of that stuff for overall recreation.
They work hand in hand with the sheriff's office right now. The sheriff's office has really stepped up over the last few years.
It's on the docket to be reviewed.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on this? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. A motion.
I second.
All right, we have a motion from Blake to approve, a second from Angie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. Okay, Northeast Region Aquatics.
Okay, I have a PowerPoint for this one. I knew about this one. So this is project 6928, I believe, and this is gonna be handed off to Josue Hernandez, who I introduced you to this morning. But basically, this is an ongoing aquatic specific operation and maintenance budget that we put in for each year. It allows us to continue to keep our infrastructure that we've invested so heavily in and over the last eight years now, keeps it functioning and going. Next slide. So this is where it becomes specific to aquatics. So we now have, well, we'll call it 2.5 fish screens. We'll have a completed starvation fish screen by the end of this next year. We have this wedge dock at Big Sandwash Reservoir that is maintained and operated by us and was paid for by Blue Ribbon funding about 7 years ago now. I believe is how long it's been in. We have a Pelican Lake sediment catch basin and a fish screen in the same half-mile that we maintain. The sediment catch basin was designed to keep sediment from pouring into Pelican Lake, but it's also one that we maintain and operate. We assist at lower Stillwater ponds with a bunch of beaver activity there and removals, and then we're just about ready to open a brand new Roosevelt community fishing pond and nature park, and we'll have some involvement helping Roosevelt City maintain that, get the fishery part of it. So that's just the sole part that's operated by a technician that I hire under the reservoir program. This is also split with Pat on project 7052 now. So we've collaborated now with this one person that we hire to be able to do the WMA maintenance that Aquatics is responsible for. Most of that falls on Diamond Mountain, but we've recently in the last 5 years opened Old Fort Ponds WMA, and then we have a lot of responsibilities at Little Montez as far as the fishing infrastructure there. So all sorts of things go into this one person's job, and the biggest, most important part I would say of this person's job is it allows the reservoir biologist to actually do their job. Otherwise, the reservoir biologist would be working on all of these things with probably just a sport fish technician, because that's all we would have. So next slide. And these are just some of the pictures of things that we've got going on. So that's the Big Sandwash boat dock, and it is held up surprisingly well for being 7 years of getting beat on. The middle one's the Pelican fish screen. On a good day, it looks like the top. On a bad day, when the wind blows, it looks like that on the bottom, and it's a nightmare. And then that new starvation screen will go down below the spillway right there on the right. Next. Here on the left is our Pelican Lake sediment catch basin outflow weir. And then the top is the inflow head gate. The right picture is some trees that we installed at Little Montez, pollinator that we helped with habitat on. And then the bottom is the new fishing pond over in Roosevelt. Next. And it really is, I think, for what we get out of it, pretty minimal ask. $16,700, $10,000 of it goes to personal services. Motor pool costs, this person goes all over the place. So motor pool for us is important. And then some ask for materials and supplies for repairs when you get broken cables on fishing piers, or when someone lights a fire in the middle of the fishing pier and we have to replace all the tracks, things like that. Yeah, just reiterate what I said earlier, we do a ton of maintenance on our infrastructure in the Northeast region, and this project coupled with Pat's WMA maintenance project allows us to have this person to get all these things done. Otherwise, it would not be good. It wouldn't put us in a good place for trying to get it out there. So, any questions?
Just comment. This is just a dream of mine. One day in a perfect world. And I'd like to see this lumped in with the Northeast region, just, habitat maintenance ask. It just seems to fit there. And, they ask for the same thing every year, and this should just be part of that.
I would love to have it that way.
Other
This
than
is
that,
how it's been broken up.
I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
All right. He said another conversation. Who had the motion? Drew, and a second from Randy. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right. Thanks.
And with that, thank you all. I have to get back to Vernal. The
Drive safe.
drive's not that
Drive
short.
safe, Natalie.
See you, Natalie. All right. Okay, we're gonna move to some Southern Region projects. So we're gonna start out, which number are we?
It's, we're gonna actually, Nick, we're gonna actually let Teresa go first. 6990.
Okay, so 6990 Southern Region Repair and Restoration FY 25. Teresa is online with us from Southern Region, so go ahead.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, sorry, Nick, for butting in front of you. You drove up there and then I jumped right in front of you. I'm so sorry. So my name is Teresa Griffin and I'm the Wildlife Program Manager here in the Southern Region. I would have loved to be there today, but I've got a family death that I've got to head down to St. George as soon as I present here. So I will just work off of the WRI proposal rather than a presentation, but Shane did a great job giving you the background on all the benefits of beavers. So we've been moving beavers in the Southern Region for over 10 years now, but this project, we are, similarly, we're taking beavers in nuisance situation and then we move them to areas that can be beneficial. So I work closely with our aquatics and our habitat sections here in the region to make sure that they are okay with the areas that we release them. And then we've really started to gain some steam. The Forest Service locally is now actually asking us, how can we shut down some of these areas to trapping? They're so excited about maintaining beavers in areas because of all the benefits that they provide. And then in addition, they, with some help from Utah State, with Nate Norman, we've been getting in touch with a bunch of other private landowners. So I keep having private landowners contact us who are interested in having beavers placed on their property. I do like to make sure that there's adequate riparian vegetation on the property so that there's plenty of escape habitat for the beavers, since new ones are susceptible to predation. So I've got a few private landowners on the Monroe Mountain right now that are trying to create some pools in different areas. They may be creating, some maybe mimic some beaver dam analogs or Z-dikes or, something to start making some of those pools. But then I also loop in NRCS, our private lands, Stan Gurley, who were devastated, just took a different position. And then also Clint Wyrick with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for some of their private lands expertise. The change in my proposal this year, I have bumped up. I've asked for $5,000 more, and that's to do kind of a contractual services to give to Utah State to help support their beaver program. Like Shane had also mentioned, they do educational programs for us. They have given us beavers for the last few years. They help us with a lot of the communications. So I did bump up from the ask this year, 74,000 a couple of years ago. This year I'm asking for 79,230. The division also contributes about, and other partners contribute about 27,000 in kind. Again, the local Forest Service is incredible down here. They have checked traps for us. We have done the horse packs into, the Pine Valley Wilderness, where beaver restoration may be the only tool that we've got in wilderness. So our office manager, Mindy Cox, she actually, that's Mindy right there. She supervises this program for her pay for performance. So we hire several technicians, and this pays for them and their trucks. So she works closely with them and kind of runs the program. So it's it's pretty low maintenance as long as we can get people hired. And just last week at the Wildlife Society meetings, I ran into a undergrad student from Utah State who he somehow tracked me down. He goes, "Are you a beaver believer?" And he was so excited about beavers and wants to try some new techniques to make the tail tags. Every now and then we'll get them ripped out and have some failure of the tail tags. So he'd like to try some other options to do monitoring. And this money also pays for the technicians to do monitoring. We put a lot of subadults or juvenile beavers in different waters, and we don't tail tag those because their tails are a little bit fragile. But when they do monitoring, I really have people key in on, is there recent beaver use? Are there chews? Is there dam construction? And that's the whole goal of this program, is to modify the riparian habitat, slow the flow, reduce siltation in reservoirs, et cetera, et cetera. So I could go on and on, but that is the program in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions that I should expand more on?
Questions for Teresa?
Of course.
Randy?
No, Daniel, would you mind going back to the images? And it's the very last picture, and it was color coded for migration of animals coming through.
Oh yeah. So that's in the East Fork, so over by Bryce Canyon, just to the south of Tropic Reservoir. So for several years, we do like to try to have a focused stream and really double down and put quite a few animals in there. And they're doing well. This just shows we've got elk use, we've got bear and deer along the stream there. I clipped the areas that are pretty rich in beaver habitat where we have translocated them. So, it may be a correlation, not causation, but they are hitting those rich riparian areas.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious about that, if you had anything prior to this, if did it improve things? Are you drawing more animals into this area?
I think the collars are probably new enough, especially on elk, that we may not. I can do some other queries and see if I can run like some several years ago, but I'll see what that comes up with and send it out if I find anything different. That's a great point.
Okay, but and I'm an enthusiastic supporter. I just thought I'd check. The other thing, it's shame on me for not remembering, because I know I saw this come across the RAC meeting a few years back. But do we have any concerns on as far as hunters trapping in these areas? It seems like on the beaver plan, trapping is limited to specific drainages, but I might be incorrect on that.
We do have a few areas closed to trapping. Like I said, the Forest Service came to us just this last year and said, we'd like to shut down more areas. I kind of look at some areas that are pretty inaccessible to trappers during the winter. It's that balance of drawing people the attention to, hey, we just put a bunch of beavers in here, neon light flashing, that they might try to go in there. And that's always been our worry, that we might draw negative attention by closing an area or asking to. But I'm, certainly up to discussing that with Darren Du Bois, who oversees the fur bearer program, to adding more areas to the trapping restrictions so we can specifically protect our investment here.
So it sounds like it hasn't been an issue to this point, though. Is that fair?
Yeah, to this point, yeah, there's not as many beaver trappers out there today as there has been in days gone by. We're just not buying enough beaver pellet hats.
Okay,
Awesome.
other questions on this project?
The only thing is a technical thing. Could we see the breakdown on this? Now, and like I said, I'm an enthusiastic supporter. Doesn't hurt that Steve's not here. That's changed a little bit because I really like, there's this almost identical project, 6992, that I thought had a better breakout, that was fair, that spread it across the spectrum.
And
Because
I have totally copied what we have used in the past for the species breakdown. And if we can break it out, better,
Yeah, this is not a criticism as you at all. I just thought, I'd use this as an example. I thought this was a great breakdown because these beaver dams impact so many different areas. I thought this was an example of a good, fair way to spread it out.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've tried to touch on all the different species in the proposal that they may impact.
Yeah, Randy, maybe the only issue with what that breakdown was, I mean, those other amounts, the non-game fish, non-game wildlife get attributed to either aquatics or big game.
No, and I realize that.
Yeah.
But just as far as technically, I mean, we should be breaking it down the way it goes. So maybe that's me too.
I mean, that could be part of a motion to change, adjust those percentages.
Because it doesn't impact me. I'm still at 30%. I don't know how it impacts everybody else. Like I said, it's just.
I agree with you philosophically. Beavers, no matter what animal you are, it benefits every animal on the landscape. And from that aspect, I agree with you.
Yeah, but for the purposes of these categories, I guess our intent at this point anyway is that it lines up with the different funding categories that are in the Habitat Council statute. So you want to make adjustments to that, feel free to make that as part of the motion.
And like I said, it doesn't impact me. I'm paying 30% either way. But I'll leave it. And I don't know, I don't think it really impacts you too much.
A little worse, but it doesn't matter. If you made a motion, I'd second it. So.
You know what? If we're supposed to be doing it, I mean, this is my anal side coming through. I'll apologize, but I always say we've changed the proportions to that other example I gave, and I haven't written down if you want to. And then move to approve it with the proportions, adjusted proportions.
I'd second that.
Okay. So.
And I have it if you.
Maybe call
It's
those
just
out.
adding in non-game benefits to the project.
So big game is 15, Upland. Oh, no, it did. I apologize. It didn't impact me. And we can increase mine if you want. Upland was 10. Waterfowl is 15. Sport fish was 40. Non-fish was 10. And non-game was 10. So I did not intentionally lie. I did lie. That does benefit me.
Okay, so you now, that's part of the motion, right? Those new percentages.
I second
We
that.
have a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Kobe stepped out. Okay.
Allison,
right.
do I make that change or do you make that change, Allison?
I've already made it.
Oh, you're a genius. Thank you.
All right. So that motion passes. Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Teresa. Yeah, good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next project. I think this was probably Nick, right? Yeah, so, project 6970, maintenance of Lower Beaver River, repairing and aquatic habitat improvement work.
That'll not be, that'll be Oakley.
Oh, sorry.
6954 is the first one.
We're good, you got to do that.
Okay, so,
Either way.
we're doing this. And then,
Okay, so,
Yeah, let's do 6954.
yeah, sorry.
yeah, I guess if you start with the map. So the general area is by the town of Hatch, so near Panguitch, Utah. So it's a section of the Upper Severe River. Over the last 20 years, there's been a lot of habitat work done there. It started with my predecessor, Stan Beckstrom. He did a lot of work, and then I've done some work recently. And so it's kind of good stream improvement work. Basically, the area had a lot of bare vertical eroding stream banks, all the problems that go along with that. Nutrient inputs, sediment inputs, no near stream or no riparian vegetation along the corridor. And this is all also essentially all private land. So when we did these original projects, the two big things we got is we improved habitat for fish and other species that use the water or the riparian corridor. And then we also got public access. Part of the, when we do this, we sign usually 20-year agreements with the landowners to implement some kind of grazing management plan. Usually there's a little bit of an obligation for them to do some fence maintenance and then also to allow public access for sportsmen. But part of the agreement is also that we'll try and do maintenance work that the landowners can't really do. So most of it has worked out pretty well, but especially with the high flows we had last year with the record snowpack, we had a few areas where we had problems. So you can see a bank here that failed. You can see some of the old structures in the stream there. So it kind of got behind the structures and we lost that bank. So that's what it looked like before. And now we did the original project that worked out well, and now we're back to the state. So in these few spots where we had failures, and then we also have a lot of fence crossings and watering lanes. And with the record flows, some of those failed as well. So basically this project is a maintenance project. So here's some pictures of kind of the pre and post work of the original projects. This isn't really the maintenance, but this is kind of what it looks like. So bank sloping, putting in structures, planting, implementing a grazing management plan. So that was the original work. So there's a before and after, kind of giving you a general idea of what the project is. You can't see it, but on a lot of these rock structures, there's J hooks and structure going out into the water to provide habitat for the fish. So this project is the maintenance project. So basically, we're going to take care of those banks that failed, those big flows, and then like I said, the landowners that we're working with, they've been pretty good about tightening wire and it's kind of small maintenance. But when we have the big failures of the crossings, that's just that's a little too big for them. So we would go in and fix the banks and replace mainly the fence crossings that would be fixed. Yeah, if you go to finance. So we're essentially asking for money from Habitat Council, WRI, and then we're looking for some point source money, water quality. So we've applied for that. I've talked to Paul about it to make sure that it is eligible for maintenance. And he said, yeah, no problem. How to do good projects. Paul Burnett with water quality. So I'm optimistic that we won't go for a while. Sorry.
Okay, any questions for Nick?
What's the accessibility for fishing in that area?
So you can access it. We don't advertise it. We've had discussions about trying to get people to sign up to walk-in access. And the way it is basically if nothing's posted. If you're there fishing, you're going to be allowed to fish. But we're not signing up anyone through walk-in access. We're not putting up fence styles. So yeah,
if we, and the reason we don't do that is if we did that, if we got a bunch of people going there, I think some of the landowners might kind of back off a little bit on their willingness to allow access.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion on this one?
Move to approve. I do have a question though, just for you. Does this account for all the damage on the severe from last year's winter on all the structures that Stan put in?
Probably not every single one of them.
But enough to get
Yeah,
it back to functional?
yeah, these are the worst ones.
Okay.
There's other ones. We did a lot of work last summer, kind of fixing up what, there's a lot of these that took some blows last runoff, but we were able to get them in working.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, so we have a motion from Drew, we have a second from Blake. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Right? Motion carries. Okay.
6970, is that our next one? I'm on the right track here.
Yes.
It's just going in order. Okay. Maintenance of Lower Beaver River riparian and aquatic habitat improvement. Okay.
So I'm Oakley Timmer. I'm new here, so be patient, but,
And what's your role?
aquatics biologist and some.
Thanks.
So this, Nick kind of put this project together and he's kind of pawning it off to me, which is good.
It's called mentorship.
So a little bit of background, right below Minersville Reservoir, near the town of Minersville. The Lower Beaver River, there's about 100 acres. About half of it is BLM and the other half is a private land, but it's a walk-in access area, so it's accessible to hunting and fishing. This kind of project is, it's just a small part of a big ongoing project. It's been going on for over 10 years. This riparian habitat has been pretty much a monoculture of Russian olive and tamarisk, mainly Russian olive. And so a lot of work has been done in the past to remove, the invasive Russian olive to promote native riparian. So, basically, around 30 acres earlier this spring was treated. Heavy equipment crew went in and ripped out all the big Russian olives. So this project is asking for money to hire a crew to go in and hand treat the resprouted Russian olive that are, inevitably gonna come. So, and that's for the 30 acres treated and then the previous 70 acres that have been treated in the past. So, a maintenance thing to keep up on it, so we don't lose that progress that we've already made. Those are those pesky resprouted Russian olives. This is, part of the project that they've done. And this is a really quality trout fishery, really big browns, really nice rainbows. It's very popular, sees a lot of use. So we'll go to the finance. We're asking, so we have some in-kind money for, me to do my job and implement this. We asked for the WRI for some money. And then we have a fund contract with the NRCS, about $4,000 that we got. And then we are asking you for $11,764 to help fund this. So it'll benefit mainly sport fish. There is some open game. There has been sage grouse in the area, checkers, and big game white-bearded deer. Have any questions?
Questions?
I answer those.
Just general knowledge. One, I like this. I wrote this down as I was going through it, I think. And the work you've done in the past is really good. How often do you have to spray for the tamarisk and the Russian olive? You cut it down, then you're going back and retreating. Is there a point where the root base, I'm assuming it's the root base, that's causing the spread. Is it the seed bank that's doing it?
Yeah. Between the seed bank and the root base, they try to do it typically every other year, go in there and, retreat everything.
And for how long do you have to do that?
Until it's gone, I guess.
So the first 2 to 3 years after the initial treatment is rough. You gotta go each year and it's re-smells really heavy. But after those first 2 or 3 years, it's not nearly as bad. So it's gonna be an ongoing thing. So probably another project like this next year, is this just barely the spring we did an initial treatment on the last piece. So we'll probably do at least 2 years, maybe 3 years. And then we probably got some time, and maybe every 3 to 5 years. And it'll be a smaller, we may be able to handle a lot of it sitting on top of it.
And that far down the road, is that just seed bank still, or is that stuff that's new stuff that's migrating in?
It's probably, because we don't, and not ideally, we've been having to work our way upstream. That probably hasn't helped, but there's still a lot of brush and all. And this will essentially get us from the reservoir, Minersville Reservoir, downstream to the fairgrounds or the town of Minersville. And that's what we focus on right now, but there's still a lot of brush and all of Amherst.
I'm stunned how long the seed banks last.
Yeah, I would guess the seeds stay viable for a long time.
I was gonna say, I've read some thistle seed stuff, which is completely different, obviously, but it was indeterminate. They had stuff in buried that was like 50, 60 years old, but was still viable.
Especially bigger seeds.
Yeah, and bigger seeds are even.
And birds transporting them.
Yeah, and birds, yeah, it's those damn upland birds.
They've never done anything bad in their lives. You should check it out.
Just to teach them a good lesson before they do something bad.
Preventive maintenance.
Okay, other questions on this? Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, second. Okay, we have a motion from Randy to approve, a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes. Okay. Next one. Last one from Southern Region, 6867 Jackson Flat Reservoir Fish and Waterfowl Habitat.
These wanted. So I'll present this one. This is really Dan Keller's project. He's our lake pal biologist. But he also works on Jackson Flat Reservoir, which is a reservoir essentially right in the town of Kanab. It's about a 250 acre reservoir, I believe. So the story with this project is Jackson Flat's about 12 to 15 years old, so it's a relatively new reservoir. Last year, about this time, we got a public committee together and created a fisheries management plan for the reservoir. And so this project comes out of that fisheries management plan. So some of the management actions that we wanted to take as part of that management plan were to improve angler access and improve fishing for people. So there were kind of two parts to that, or I guess three things we wanted to do and that the management plan called for. One was getting a courtesy boat dock, another was installing a fishing pier, and then a third was adding some aquatic habitat to attract fish near the fishing pier to improve angler access to the fish and success. So that's what this project is. We've had an awesome partner in the Kane County Water Conservancy District. So like I said, we finished this plan up about this time last year, so it was a little bit late for us to come to you guys for money to do some of this habitat work. But the Water Conservancy District said, hey, we'll go ahead and try and get some outdoor rec money to take care of the fishing pier and the boat dock, and they were able to get it. So that's this fiscal year that they're putting the courtesy boat dock and the fishing pier in. And so now we're coming to you guys asking for money to buy mainly this artificial habitat to put in near the fishing pier where that's going to be. It's a really good fishery. There's huge largemouth bass. We've moved a lot of crappie there. There's bluegill. It's really popular, especially with local. It's essentially right in the town of Kanab. So basically the budget breakdown. So the big expense is the fishing pier and the courtesy boat dock. So we're lucky that Kane County or the Kane Water Conservancy District took care of that. And then they're also pitching in some in-kind, they're gonna help us. We're also asking for a little bit of money to build some duck boxes and, hen houses. You can't hunt there, like I said, it's basically right in the town of Canal, but it's kind of more of a wildlife, whatever benefit you get from it, mixing it with going elsewhere, but. Yes, so that's the breakdown. Yes, the aquatic habitat part is about 20,000, about 3,000. The duck houses are about duck boxes. And I will mention it, it's awesome. We don't have DOR waters, like Pals are only DOR waters. So when we want to do aquatic habitat, we're working with local irrigation companies and small water districts, and usually they're really resistant to putting anything in their reservoirs for understandable reasons. But they've been an awesome partner, as you can see, getting that outdoor rec and being willing to let us put it in structure.
Okay, questions?
You get enough waterfowl that you want nesting boxes that.
So I got, this is out, that part of the project's kind of out of my wheelhouse. Like what I gather is, when Dan was talking to kind of the guy, the maintenance guy for the Water Conservancy District there, he thought that would be a great idea. And so I decided, let's throw in a little money and do that. So I know he and Dan thought it would be a good idea. That's just too.
You know, they do, I was just there, you know, they do have the Frisbees. Does the Frisbee discs all around that lake? Is that, does that do anything for the waterfowl as well? You know?
I don't know.
I know they've been getting a lot of outdoor recreation
Yeah.
grant money for that.
Yeah, when I've been there, I've seen what you're talking about. I'm there during.
There is, it's a Frisbee golf course around there.
Yeah, I'm there during the week, so I've never seen anybody there, but yeah, I don't have any sense of how much use it gets or not. Yeah, I'd have to ask Dan.
Struggle with the waterfowl aspect without knowing more of the information in regards to that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm gonna struggle
I
answering your
understand,
questions,
no, you're good.
but yeah, Dan and the guy with King County Water Conservancy District, they could. And honestly, it's probably a small enough amount, but if you guys weren't comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great project to promote a fishery.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know, thoughts? Blake, Drew?
Just as far as the fishery project goes, I love artificial habitat. You know, we're growing up in Utah and it's all reservoirs, you know, we see the drawdown and then there's nothing for the fish. And so I like it. I like it a lot.
I really like the project. The only question I have, Nick, is the maintenance guy and the Conservancy District, they were like hypercritical of us when, you know, right before we start the management planning process. Are we in a good place with them? Were they involved in the management planning process itself? And
Yeah, and I think that was a good example of, if we're not talking to each other, then things can go awry, but if we sit down, created the management plan together, I mean, like you can see for them to go out and get the money, and they're providing the match for that outdoor rec grant money.
that's awesome.
So, yeah, so it's a really good thing.
Good.
And I know Dan has a really good relationship. I think that's totally turned around.
This reservoir doesn't get drawn all the way down, does it?
No, it'll get drawn down, but it's not the crazy, you know, drastic drawdown like you see. Yeah, we should be able to keep the habitat we put in underwater.
All right. Any other questions?
I move to approve. This is an example of, you know, pulled success from a really shitty situation in the beginning, and hats off to you. I mean, that was not easy.
Yeah, that's Dan and.
Yeah.
Can we remove the hen houses and the waterfowl boxes until I can get more information?
So I guess that's the question. Drew, are you okay to modify
Yeah,
your
that's-
motion?
Yeah.
Take
Absolutely. Until we get more information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
table it to like the next meeting and have the project manager give some information
I'm good with that.
instead of totally just.
So I'll let Dan know. How would you like him to respond in the comments section or send an email to somebody?
To Daniel or.
Yeah, or have them just respond in the comment section. And then just have the email.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna modify your motion to table?
Oh, my motion.
Okay.
And
Paul's
then,
motion,
then the motion is,
Yeah.
we table it for,
and we're just gonna table it, so.
Yes, I should comment.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, we're gonna move to some central region projects. Looks like Josie's online. I'm not sure if you're doing all of these or if we've got other.
I saw him here this morning. Yeah, he was with the last group.
Yeah, Josie's online right now, but, Josie, you there? They might just go over 2100. I'll go check on them. We'll go check on that real quick.
While we're waiting, I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Yeah, let's take a break. Good call. Break for about 10 minutes.
6957 Jenkins Flat Reservoir Fishery Dredging.
Presentation, the documents as well. Good.
Just thinking about it. Pictures. That's not a bad thing, just, yeah. We'll slow it down a little bit. Okay.
So yeah, I'm Tyler Robinson. I'm the sport fish biologist in the central region. Also Blue Ribbon Ref, which is why I need to run back downstairs because we're voting in a new central region Blue Ribbon Ref, so I should probably be there for my rep. But this is Jenkins Flat Reservoir. It's essentially been a catch basin for 30 some years in Nephi Canyon. This is what it looks like after last spring's runoff. I'll kind of go through some of that stuff so you can move on to the next slide here. A little bit of history of the reservoir. 2007, maintained as a catch basin, like I said, for the Nephi community, but also as a local fishery. That picture is kind of what it looked like throughout the years. It stayed pretty similar to through maintenance of the reservoir, but in 2007, we had the Salt Creek fire, burned approximately 25,000 acres throughout that region. Then throughout multiple years of runoff, its reservoir filled in heavily with sediment, redirected the river channel to essentially be in all kinds of areas. Originally it was supposed to be on that outside part of it, but it's been changed throughout the runoff, which we commonly see throughout that. Again, this project was sent through Habitat Council in 2020 and was funded to be dredged back to its old state, to get it back to a fishery and as well back to that catch basin for saving stream restoration and stream projects from downstream of this go flow into the city of Nephi. And then after the record snowfalls, this is what it looked like after it was dredged. It actually gained a little size. But in 2023, we had highest snowfall on record in the region. We saw fails in the Eagle Loop byway had to be replaced with actually sediment from this project back in the 2020 dredging. The river hit about 571 CFS just downstream from this, where the normal median peak is around 40 to 60. So you could just imagine how much water was actually coming down in the system and where all this sediment came from. Move on to the next slide. So what we'd like to do, this is me standing on the actual dredge sediment here. We'd like to get it back to its original state as a catch basin as well as a community fishery for the region. It's not part of our community fishery plan, but it's a big draw for the residents of that area. And Fountain Green, our Fountain Green hatcheries really pushed to get fish in there, and they do that consistently throughout the year to make it a fishery. There's not much water in that area for anglers to use. We're estimating there's approximately 18,000 cubic yards of sediment. That's through what we did 4 or 5 years ago. That was the number it was. Of course, we don't know how much is actually in there, but just real rough estimates from the work that was done in the past. Again, what we'd like to do in this project as well, which actually is not in the budget at the moment, but is been in discussion with the Forest Service because it's on Forest Service land, is what kind of stream restoration we can do to improve this. We'd really like to work with them as much as we can, but given how much work the central region, particularly Mike Slater, has done with stream restoration, probably end up doing that in-house if they allow us. But we'd like to assess the area and figure out where some problematic points are that are causing all this sediment to keep filling in the reservoir. And then, of course, just to finish off, we'd like to see the area. You can kind of see in some of that aerial imagery. It looks natural now. Of course, it looks a little flat in some areas and not truly rolling hills like the rest of the area. But you can't tell that there's 18,000 cubic yards of sediment deposited in the land because the vegetation has grown it so well since 2020. So again, we have all the stuff we've done in the past, seed mixtures, that we would be able to do that the same way and make it look good if we were allowed to keep it on site. And that's where things get a little complicated here. If we want to go to the budget, we'll kind of talk about that. It's a big ask. We know it's a big ask, and the only reason it's become a big ask is because the Forest Service is not allowed to keep any more of this sediment on site. partially because of regulations being the Nemo Luke scenic byway. They have a visual perspective they have to keep in that area, and they don't want mounds of sediment everywhere in this region. So that has caused us to get a bid from the people that have done it in the past. That jacked our price up from 5 years ago being 80,000 to approximately almost 400,000. And we have to bring that sediment to the Mona gravel pit, which is 10, 15-mile drive. That's where all your money's coming from. We are actively looking in ways to lower that cost. We had a meeting with the Forest Service last week, trying to get them on board to how can we cut this in half at least, if not more than that. They're of course going to do all the paperwork for us, and the NEPA is still valid. They can just get an extension on that. Juab County is done the oversight of the dredging before, and they'd like to do it again. They have some contractors that did the dredging in the past, and we use them. Of course, we'll have to send it out to bid, but we got our estimate from the past people who did this project. So in total, you're looking at $376,000. But again, we are actively trying to lower that cost. Just last week, we looked across the street from the reservoir, and there's kind of this rolling hill that drops off, that there's also some streams and cutting into the bank, and the Forest Service was actively open to us putting sediment there, which would be about a 1/10 of a mile drive. Really cutting that down, the shipping cost of that sediment cut. They need to go through a ton of approvals because it's federal government and they have all these different regulations that we're all probably very familiar with. In order for them to essentially make a waste pit for sediment, it's not in their plan. They have no EXs or CADXs, whatever it is for them to do that, but they're going to try and see what they can do because they have used this extra sediment that we dredged out in the past for road restoration and stuff in the area. But
Okay. So as I'm looking at the sediment, this totally looks like the alluvial fan stuff that's up here at the point of the mountain that people are actively, and I'm not sure if that's what it is, but it looks like what's gonna happen is you're gonna haul this to the Mona pit, right? They're probably gonna crush it, and then they're gonna use it as road base and sell it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm asking myself, I understand if we're hauling it off or we're paying the cost to haul it off, is there no value in the sediment as it is? And you probably already know that, and you probably already have looked into that, but
Little signs, it's free road base.
we did talk about that last week. We thought about, okay, can we push this to the side? At least get half our fishery back to where it is and advertise somebody to say, who wants to come in here and buy this from us? Given it's forest stuff, we don't have to say that at the DWR. Essentially, it's their sediment, but it's also gone to the fact that even though, like, think about ERS, if it's their sediment, why aren't they keeping it? We've asked that question 1,000 times. Why can't they take this and put this somewhere? They can't. They can't just have piles of sediment on their thing. And that was my main question last week.
So
I met with 5 different Forest Service people.
That was my next question was if it's their sediment, why aren't they the ones paying to haul it off?
This project, in DWR, we found out about this situation in theory that our community pond filled in, I believe in September when we were stocking cutthroat. The Forest Service knew about this, but we were never contacted that they were already actively looking to do something with this. And then they approached us well past their deadline of where they needed to do project rules because it's like October for them. When we came in, and Mike Slater and I really wanted to push us to see if there's anything we can do to get one of our important fisheries for the region back. But then things got out of hand with having to take stuff off. But like I said, of course, we want you guys to fund this and get a fishery back for the area, help out the catch basin. But we want you to know that we're doing the best we can to get cost cut. And in the end, this is going to become a bigger project that's more stream restoration work, potentially some habitat work with our crew. If there could be something to benefit wildlife upstream of this, that also benefits the stream restoration. But right now, this is a dredging project. But next year, if you guys don't accept this project, more than likely it's going to come back to you and it's going to have different aspects to it. But this project came really fast in our hands and we tried to do the best we could with it.
I have a question of a different sort, and it comes from your in-kind match, the staff evaluation of stream to reduce sediment load. It seems like that should be step one. And I say that because this is the second time in, the last 10, 15 years that this is filled in. Should that be step one? Should that be the project that we evaluate and then look at, a reservoir's, sediment removal after we get the stream stabilized?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's something we'd like to do in the end, but we just couldn't get it done this quick. We just thought we could shoot for a dredging project that then got out of control for us. In the end, yeah, we want to look all the way up and down the stream and we planning on it. We worked with our hydrologist in the region. They have a new fisheries biologist there too. He's on board. And if we would have been addressed what happened in May or June, this would have went a different direction, but we were brought into this a little too late to go the direction we should be going, which, if you say, Drew, is top-down restoration, whether it's EDAs, whether it's some Roskin stuff, lower downstream. So like I said, we were brought in a little late to get that planning done and get that drawn out. So.
And I'm not discounting the value of the fishery at all. It's just, the longevity of the project seems misguided if we don't address the upstream problem.
Get a big runoff year and you're back to square one year later.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, this, like I said, it's never had flows this high. We're not gonna see them this year at the rate we're at. So the odds of it filling up with sediment again and next year are low, but can we get stream restoration completed enough where 2 years, 3 years down the line, if we have another high winter of snow, why not catch up to it in time? So there is that concern.
You guys did talk about that then
Yeah.
internally. I figured as much.
Yeah, like I said, I met with a bunch of different Forest Service last week, and that was the first time all of us got on site with Juab County. A lot of this has been done over email, and we all know how difficult that can be to look at the scope of the project we're doing. So for us to get on site last week, got us all on the same page, and we're currently drafting. Essentially, I'm gonna be working on a better route to fill this pond with water. I know in summer, community ponds and Price has one where they have a gate that sends water in a different route. It's not direct stream flow. We contemplated that idea. But we're trying to work with Forest Service to say, hey, what's our best route to work on your land to get something done and not have this happen in 5 years.
They looked at a different gravel pit to send it to. There's plenty of.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure what their purpose was for the Mona gravel pit. If it fell in, that's the only one in Juab County, and that's why they were doing it. I don't have all the information on where that came from. We worked with the road maintenance facility guy. It's a guy who's done, and he's been there for 37 years. He's done the 2 different dredging that this pond has had.
Well, the other part of this is we have a ton of roads we need gravel for. Like, even if it's a river run gravel, like, why wouldn't we just keep it? And I will stay in my lane because I'm a wildlife guy, not a fisheries guy. So I'll back up. It's just when I see this, that kind of took me back.
Yeah.
So, and I know Drew knows, so I'll stay in my lane, but.
Isn't there a gravel pit right at the bottom of the canyon?
That's a mine.
It's closed.
Oh, okay. So I just remember that they were doing a lot of earth moving.
Yeah, we're the Juab County road guys. He is finding locations as close as he can to put stuff in. But given how a lot of that area is Forest Service land, we still have to work with them to see if there is approval that they can put a bunch of sediment there.
There's gotta be, it feels like they're only going towards Juab County. There's stuff on the other side, but why?
I apologize. I'm sure you said this, but why did the Forest Service miss their deadline? Does that make it an emergency for us?
It doesn't necessarily. It was something that Mike and I wanted to push because they didn't do what we thought they could have done to get us on board. But we don't want to lose our fishery. That's super important to that area. There's Mona's Burston Ponds is the only community fishery within about 20 miles of Nephi. We have community pond fishing days there. The city of Nephi has a community fishing group, and they used to use this pond as their area over Burston Pond because it was a better set for them. And Now they have a third of their pond that they can use and they have to move their location back to first.
So in the funding category, I'm looking on the database. It shows that 345,000 of this is being asked for from WRI proper, and only 20,000 from Habitat Council. Is that still the case, or is it the full amount?
I was unaware that that went through that way. I think I put it on. And
You had it in there as all WRA and I
Yeah.
just pulled the chunk.
Okay, so I guess the question is are we asking the council for 20 or for 365?
I'm guessing it's the 20 then. I was unaware that that
And
changed.
where, do we know where this ranks out in the WRI world?
It rained out though.
Yeah, so it probably won't get funded through WRI.
Yeah. So yeah, it would need the full amount.
So if we wanted to commit it to any funds, 20,000, it'll probably just not happen. And, you know, if the council wanted to pick up the whole amount, they could, or table it, they could, or.
I like Drew's idea.
I tell you, in, out of respect for your conversations in the regions only, I think that we need to back up.
Yeah.
And, you know, take the first step first, and I don't think this is it.
No, I agree. I wasn't willing to withdraw it. I wanted to get across your guys' plate and know that it's gonna come back, whether it's 20,000, potentially something different next year.
No,
just-
I think the overall idea, I really like that there needs to be a good fishery there, and there was one previously, but I think it would be nice to see the Forest Service step up a bit more and recognize that it's part of their issue too, and have some more skin in the game. But I think that we support moving forward, that maybe just needs to cook in the oven a little bit more.
Just what I would like to see brought back is a more comprehensive approach to addressing, you know, the sediment transfer issues in that drainage, ending in this reservoir. And, you know, the Forest Service partnership and UAD need to step it up just a bit.
And I think it would rank a lot higher in WRI if you did address that sediment stuff that's happening further up. You know, I think that's a huge part of why it didn't rank very well. You know, I mean, those questions, same questions came up at the WRI meeting. But yeah, I think it would be able to rank higher because you'd be addressing more of it.
I agree. They have a new district ranger coming in May. They also have a new fisheries biologist in that region. They have a lot of turnover. And I think we're catching them all in one swing, and we know this is important to us, and we're gonna try and make it important to them.
So that's another thing I found, as soon as a partner has a new staff person, especially a manager, come in, get in front of them right away, tell them you want to collaborate, tell them you're here to help, and that's how you start off on a good foot.
That's our plan, so.
I don't know, probably went before, but the county on the next reservoir lower in the main part of the and they had a lot of sediment.
Yep.
Until this year as well. Is that, are they planning to address that?
They have, but they haven't determined that it's full enough to be a concern for flooding purposes. That's what it comes down to. Even if you look at the stream below that, those banks are destroyed. There could be a whole 20-mile stretch of stuff that could be done there.
There are beavers in there, but.
Yeah, but that has been on our radar too, and discussions, but nothing serious to it.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
So we're tabling?
Yeah.
Is that? I've heard that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a motion.
Yeah, let's have a motion for it.
I motion that we table it and give the region and partners just time enough to come back with a more comprehensive project proposal.
All right, with the motion from Drew, table, and a second from Angie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, that's the motion. So Tyler, for you, really good presentation. You spurred lots of great discussion, so keep at it. We appreciate it, seriously.
Thank you, guys.
Don't
Thanks, Tyler.
be rattled by this.
Hey, tell the regional folks, the other regional folks, thanks for having those conversations that I know you had.
It was a lot. We threw it together last minute. It was nice to have people on site from every group.
Yeah.
We had Lynn, he's a road guy, that's 37 years. He gave us a background of everything. We stand in front of 3-4 people that are all brand new. So it's nice to have a different group in there and hopefully get something done. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Tyler.
Okay.
Good luck downstairs.
Well, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna move on to Josie with 6864 North Marina Harbor. Jenny and Paul.
No, I think he's
I'm
just
wrong
doing the
one.
last one.
Just the last one. Sorry. 6992 Central Region Repair and Restoration. Sorry, Josie, go ahead.
Considering no one knows.
I thought I heard him
what
say
it is.
the North Marina stuff, so no, I was wrong.
Okay, so I'll be quick. Concise on this one, you've already seen a few pretty similar projects, so, uh, bulk of this is just beaver translocation stuff, so.
Remember, tell us who you are.
To start, I'm Josie Stevens, I'm the impact analysis biologist, habitat biologist in Central Region, so. Yeah, so this will be the second year that I've done this type of project. Done it for a few years in, at least in our region. This, some pictures of Indian Creek, just off Highway 6 in Spanish Fork Canyon. This is a pretty good success area that we've had, that we transplanted beavers. This was last year, the nature, Swanner Nature Preserve in Park City. We put a little money in last year, asked for the same thing this year, just for some beaver deceiver materials, nothing major, but stuff like this, because we have partners that have issues, like this was just ready to flow their parking lot back into that hotel area. We put a pretty big beaver deceiver in that pond. That was kind of interesting, actually. It ended up being about 10 feet deep. We had to do some kayaks and do some tricky stuff to not sink. So, yeah, you put a little bit of money in for that kind of stuff. But most of it is for either just trapping and relocating beavers. So, we have a private contractor in the Lids and Camas that traps quite a bit for us. I think we ended up with 10 or 15 beavers from him last year. And then we put some money in for seasonal time, just to have a technician to run beavers back and forth. And then some stuff for the Utah State facility up there. Last year we got a handful of beavers from them as well. We put a little bit in for BDA work, just kind of in the same areas that we have slated to put beavers in. This is on our Dairy 4th WMA. This is one of we've put them in the last couple of years, but we're in, had some high water years, and in the fire scar from 2018, we had a lot of them blow out. But these last couple of pictures are up 12 mile this last fall. Worked with our aquatic section and had some existing beaver area that seems like the beaver, for whatever reason, the beavers have either got trapped out or just have left those areas. So have a couple areas on the Manti that we've put some this last year. So.
Jose, I like that you're working with the beaver deceiver stuff too. And the reason why is because it's great. There's the sexy part of wildlife management, which is the transplant and that, but then there's they call it, Dax Mangus is affectionately named it the blue collar wildlife management. It's not nearly as sexy to go in and deal with the problems of wildlife that have been there for a long time, but it doesn't make sense just to continually try to expand populations and create new if we're killing them out of other places where we could have them with a little work.
Well, my thought with that is, I mean, it creates partnerships and good relationships with other people, but.
And it maintains them in good places.
Yeah, like a place like that, it's a good place to have them in Park City where they're at. And I mean, it potentially could be a source population in the future. So you get more than it should be there or have extra there. We can transplant them from there in the future, but it just makes sense to me to have a little bit in there to mitigate some problems in areas that we do have problems. So. This, I cut it down a little bit from last year,
talking with Shane with the Northern Region, they put a little bit more on their side where Utah State is up there, and we didn't use them as much last year, but it's nice to have that facility up and going and available when I think last year we ended up with 8 or 10 beavers from there. And as far as the splits, I know you guys changed that and alter that and the other stuff, so feel free to tweak that how you see fit, but.
Yours was the one you liked.
Just so you know, we use yours as a model on some others, so change theirs.
And I just went from I went from last year's split, so. I don't want to get too heavy on one side or the other, but.
Okay, any questions?
Like it.
Straightforward.
Just a funny comment. I see the pictures of you guys holding the beavers. You guys gotta really take a page out of the fisherman's playbook and long arm those.
They're so heavy.
Problem
They're so much
solved.
heavier than you
As soon as they
Work on your
feel like,
shoulder strength.
kind of like a cat, as soon as they feel like that they're gonna maybe fall off, they might start swimming on you.
We had a couple that were, I think we had 2 this year that were over 50 pounds, so.
Oh.
Wow. Some of them were pretty big.
They are many.
I motion
You're
to.
right, it would look better in a picture.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
That's why the fishermen do it.
As it squirms.
They even make little tiny hands so that you can get them really far away.
Yeah. We're in all sorts of new things today. Okay. Okay, do we have a motion on this?
I motion to approve.
Okay, a second. Okay, we have a motion from Angie to approve, a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. All right, thanks, Chelsea. Good to see you again. Okay, there are 2 other projects. I don't see that we have a sponsor here or online, so we're just gonna table those for now and trying to figure out what's going on with the sponsor, so. Okay, so with that, any questions before we adjourn?
So we're tabling the last 2.
Yeah, so 68-64 and 69-53 are tabled for now.
No presenter.
No presenter.
I don't know, question.
Okay, sure.
It came up in work plans this year. We have a moderate budget to do creel surveys on our fisheries. If there was a blue ribbon fisheries creel survey that we couldn't afford within our budget, is that eligible through Blue Ribbon or through Habitat Council?
I'm gonna say probably not, but I'm open to.
My understanding of it would not be.
Would not be.
Yeah, I think in our.
So evaluation of a blue ribbon or let's say a blue ribbon fishery would not be eligible for Habitat Council funds.
Yeah, so, I mean, our primary objective is to tailor our funds as much as possible, as closely adhering to habitat specific work. There is a kind of a gray area there, and I think that there will probably be more discussion about that, but yeah, as I understand, real survey work likely is not eligible for that. We can talk about it some more.
Okay. I'm just curious. It came up and I told him I'd get an answer. And
Well, for now, it's probably not. So,
okay, I'll follow up with you as to why.
Okay.
Because it is kind of gray to me as to, and I'm not saying I'm defending or anything. It's just that, if we, tag a bunch of tiger muskie, that again is a gray area. We paid for collars for turkeys, presumably.
And that one still bugs me. I'm certain that we should be paying for, and it's my wheelhouse, but
So
I'm not comfortable.
if there's a line there, I'd like to know what that line is, that we say yes here and no here.
So I'm new here and I'm just throwing out a thought. If this creel survey is to evaluate the results of a habitat project, is that a different story?
I don't know.
well, I mean, it's not directly improving habitat or monitoring that work. I mean, maybe you could consider it monitoring, but you're monitoring angler use, right? So from that standpoint, it probably just doesn't qualify. But we can have more discussions. Yeah. So. That's, I think that's.
Makes me feel good.
my
There's
answer
no
for
one
now.
is more or less sure than I was.
I mean, the statute says, I had it. Enhancement, acquisition, preservation, protection, and management of aquatic and terrestrial wildlife habitat. Or improve access. And I think the director's office is seeing that, those other items as like management of wildlife. Rather than habitat. But that's how it's been. Like, kind of interpreted for me. in the past.
Okay. We do agree though, there's a gray area there that we have crossed at
Well,
times and
Yeah.
not at other times.
Yes.
Road known is kind of a gray area, but we've stayed away from at times, but. Under that, you had one last year and kind of had that question today when it came up as well, so.
We didn't fund road now. We funded someone to carry road now.
For me, I want less gray area. So I have a goal. I've even been writing down during some mildly uncomfortable discussions that I want more surety for myself on some of these things. And so,
And the road down is a good example of one that, you know, we funded for fish removal for some purposes, but then we don't fund it for fish removal purposes that are over here.
Yeah.
And it would, and you know, maybe there's a reason for that, but I'd like to know what Deborah says.
Consistency in anything is nice.
And
in
for
a
the carp
perfect
one, I think
world-
we do it because it's removing the carp or eliminating waterfowl habitat. So by getting rid of the carp out of those, we fund that one, those, but the other ones are more transplant or they're not changing habitat necessarily.
So they are though, if you have undesirable fish in the water, regardless of, you know, why they're undesirable, they're taking away from what you would like to be there, right? And if it's vegetation or it's another species of fish, it's apples to apples.
Good conversation.
That's true.
Yeah, but I get it. You know, I would be nice to, you know, maybe at a leadership team or at some point, you know, just try and get some clarity in some areas.
yeah, I agree. Okay. Thanks, Drew. Any other fun comments from anyone? Randy? I'm just kidding.
No,
but unless you
no,
really
I
want to
know,
say something.
I started it, so why don't you finish it?
And I just, it is, I'm comfortable with who I am.
And you do a great job helping us
We had
answer
some
really great
councils that,
questions.
like, just really didn't say anything, and it was not very fun. So
Yeah,
Good to happen.
it's good to have people that
And-
are thinking about it.
so Tyler Thompson, Watershed Director, Program Director from a DNR level, was unable to be with us today. And I'll say I've missed a little bit of some of his spicy comments and but it's been
Some
beneficial
of his
to
insight
have
is-
those conversations. So, so thanks, Randy, Andrew, and others, Angie.
For making up his lack of being here,
Okay,
his
so-
absence.
Before we jump out of here, our next meeting is when?
April 10th.
April 10th.
No, that's WRI.
That's,
That's the,
that's
that's
ECP.
the conservation.
Yeah.
permit.
April 18th.
Yeah,
April 18th.
Okay, and that's our,
I just
That's
know I
the
feel
big
like I
game.
need
That's our big
nothing
game
next
meeting.
month.
That's the big game. And then we have the budget meeting on April 30th.
April 30th.
yeah, so, so thank you again.
I'll tell you, man, the projects this year, with very few exceptions, been very well thought out
Yes, they have.
and it's solid.
There's a lot of work going into this stuff. And it's not always perfect and that's okay. And it's okay for us to have uncomfortable discussions. You know, as long as we can get some better products out of it and spend this money wisely. So it's important.
So question for you,
No, you
And
can't,
maybe
probably
this is-
can't move the meeting, but
and if it's better to have after this, so we don't delay everybody. I'm gonna be in Scotland on the 30th. I'm going to the motherland. And I didn't realize until now that that was overlapping. And that's the biggest meeting of the year.
You're gonna have to have Steve Sorensen look out for your interests.
I think somebody just canceled the trip.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. Okay, we'll have to talk some more about that, but we probably can't change our meeting at this point.
No, that's been set for a long time. I missed it somehow.
Get somewhere where you have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I don't know what the time frame is there.
Yeah, that's,
Let's see.
When do you leave?
We're flying the 29th.
Okay. Let's close this meeting.
Should we adjourn?
Motion. Let's adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Eh.
We're adjourned.
Six.